listen, I really want to start with a sincere congratulations on this series. But I'm going to start with you, Kurt. You have not done anything on television, a television series, I believe, since '76 with The Quest.
That's right.
So I want to know, what was it about this that said, "Oh, I'm doing this"?
Actually, it's interesting. The last thing I did in television, I think, was '79. It was Elvis. And you guys haven't seen that, I'm sure. It's a long time ago, before any of you were born. But I remember pulling the script out. John Carpenter once said to me, he said, "What was the moment you kind of said," I said, I pulled it out and it said Elvis. So, okay, this is good, interesting. And when we were notified about this, it was, okay, well, what is it? Well, it's in the world, it's Godzilla. And when you do that, it's a double-edged sword. It's like, okay. But for people like us, it's like, whoa, wait, what, Godzilla? Godzilla?
Yes, the Godzilla.
So it was that, and honestly, interested from that, and then the opportunity to maybe do something that I'd never seen, which was known actors, father and son, playing the same person.
What is it like to do a show with your dad, playing the same character, and you're going to have no scenes with him?
It was a challenge. It was a really fun challenge to try and meet, because you can't hit the nail on the head with certain things and go, we're going to do this. We're going to raise our left eyebrow just like this, right? Like you're not going to do that. But what we all wanted to make sure was that, I've said this like 1,000 times now, you go on these things and you feel like a broken record, but it's true that, like, as long as the architecture of the character was in a place where you knew where you were going at the end of the show, that was going to inform who he was and who Lee became, then, like, you could just play the reality of the scene, which is something that we both, I think, stand by as ways of being as actors, and just play the scene, and it will come across as the same person, because, well, we do have the same genetics.
There's enough there.
You don't need to work too hard at it. But there were some really cool things that everybody came up with, like there's some face blending things and interesting things that you'll see throughout the show that I think were really well placed and planned, and helped sell that well.
We understood that the one character that was going to connect the times was Lee Shaw, so you had to connect him, and you could never make the mistake of becoming father and son.
Right.
And I think we looked out for that.
I'm curious. I saw in episode 2, I want to say that your birthday on the show is 24. In 1924. So I'm just curious, is there something that's going to be, you just really look good for the age, or is it one of these things where it's going to get into how you are still so active and spry at that age?
Do the line.
Somebody else answer that question.
Do the line.
Yeah, no, that's not a spoiler.
All right,
is it? Yeah.
It is a plot point.
At one point, it is a plot point, but at one point, one of the characters says, "Don't let this go to your head, but you look really good for 90-something."
So first of all, I want to give a huge thank you to Apple TV for partnering up to do the screening tonight. But I also want to give a shout out to Apple TV for putting on such incredible sci-fi between Silo, For All Mankind, Foundation, and now this. For you guys, can you sort of talk about Apple as a partner in this? Because they really are throwing great resources and making it so something like this just could be shown on a movie screen, and it looks like it belongs on a movie screen.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't really speak to those other shows. It was our relationship with Apple wasn't about it being a science fiction show. It was really just about, we have to make the absolute best version of this that we possibly can, and it has to look great. It has to tell the best story. It has to be about these characters. It has to be driven by their journey and their story and who they are. And there's a bar that they set, that is sometimes intimidatingly high, and there was never any time where we felt, well, okay, well, this is good enough, we're not going to worry about it, this can slide through. It was like, no, everything from the casting, obviously, to the script work, to the cinematography, the whole thing with, like, it's just got to be great.
And it's got to stand side by side with the feature films that our partners at Legendary
make, right? Because there's Monsterverse movies that we all know and love, and if this looked like the
Wait, there are?
oh yeah, they're great. You should check them out. But you know, it's got to stand side by side by that stuff. So when those moments happen, when those big monster moments happen, it's got to be of that part.
And a big part of it was too, you know, you don't know what you're going to get. A lot of times you do a movie and you do not know what you're going to get unless you have a good filmmaker, and like it needs a good filmmaker. If you don't have it, you can be like the best actor in the world, and then you see a shitty movie. It happens all the time. And so when we, my dad and I were like, well, who's going to do the first one? And they were like, well, Matt Shakman's going to do the first one. It made, it made such a huge difference because you knew that it was going to be done in a way that was going to meet the needs of what Godzilla needed to be. Like that gave you confidence in the ability, in our ability to act the character in certain ways because you knew it was going to be in good hands. It's very important, and Matt, obviously is amazing and did an incredible job. So that was huge.
Thank you for saying that. Can I also just acknowledge two parts of this incredible filmmaking team who are here today, which is Nona Kodai, who edited both 1 and 2, and Jess Hall. And Jess Hall, who is the cinematographer for episodes 1 and 2 as well. So they're both here tonight.
What did you guys see, 1 and 2? Okay, I'm pretty objective about this. I've done it for a long time, and I'm very careful. It's like a doctor being, lowballing it. This is a real slow burn, and I mean that seriously. This does something that is very hard to achieve. It's really wonderful to be a part of when that achievement is made. It gets better and better and better and better and better and better and better, like that. It's going to be interesting to see how people respond week to week to week. I would have to binge this myself because you're going back in time and you're finding out about characters. The mysteries become doubled and tripled, and they're always dropping Easter eggs everywhere. But these guys did something that was virtually next to impossible. When you're doing a movie, you're doing an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours. You take 3 months to do it, but since 1979, since that television, last time I did a show that was on television, I've never worked on a show that I didn't know the very last line of the movie, because I reverse engineer everything. I don't know how you can do it without that. We're starting and shooting in 1 and 2. We don't even know what 6 and 7 are going to be, and these guys are working on that, and they're trying to build something while the actors are trying to completely commit to something that they never want to make any violations to. If you tell the audience something in 4 that you completely violate in 6, I'm out, and I'm hardcore on that, right? I'm no fun in that room. So they were having to deal with us. At the same time, they were dealing with things they weren't even, I don't know what we're going to do there, right? And they couldn't give answers. They didn't know. They were working. To be able to get that within that framework, to get that movie, and these are 5 movies back to back to back, if you consider this a 2-hour movie, a 2-hour movie, a 2-hour movie, and Matt Shakman did 2 hours, and Romy and Mersey and Julian and Andy, great, and they all did fantastic jobs. But guys, to do 5 movies back to back to back to back to back, it's suicide. Yeah. So that I stick around for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's all I can say.
And it requires a lot of trust. I mean, and I think for these guys to come in, with the careers that they've had and the talented people that they've worked with, to look at us and go, well, I hope these guys don't make us look like idiots.
We wouldn't let you.
It's not going to happen. It was for us to have those conversations about, well, we're not 100% sure where it's going yet, but have faith. We'll get there. We'll get there together. We're going to work together. We're going to figure it out. It was a journey.
Absolutely. And mix that in with the fact that when you're out there shooting something for 4 months, many people don't understand. When you're shooting on the set, you're not making the movie. you're just putting shit in a can for them to make the movie later. That all movies are made in the editing room because you're going to find things in there you didn't know. All movies have a life of their own as you're doing them, so they're also dealing with that. Impressive job, guys. Way to go.
That actually leads
Back at you.
that leads
It's a
me
team
to
effort.
that leads me to a question about. I'm fascinated by the editing process because it's where it all comes together. So, how did this actually change in the editing room in ways you guys weren't expecting?
It was a 3-camera half-hour sitcom when we started. But it wanted to be something else, and Godzilla's got a mind of his own. You just got to let him go.
I mean, we played around with structure a lot. When do you cut to the past? When do you cut to the present? Those things changed, right?
Yeah, the first episode didn't end where it ends now, where you see it with them losing Keiko in the reactor. There was a whole additional scene after that.
And the second episode didn't end the way it ends now. It ends now with you guys and the creature, and I think it had ended with the reveal of Kurt, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and the that first episode when we watched it in the cut, we had a scene that we were going to shoot that was, and we watched the cut and we saw that moment where she falls, and we were like, "Show's over." It's like
you're not coming back from that.
Putting anything on after that.
And we spent like several days shooting a bar fight. Yeah. Yeah, which now appears in sort of lyrical flashback in the middle of your meeting.
Well,
it was
it's
so
a funny
hot.
story. I'll tell it because there was just 7 of us in the room. The way it started out, like Matt and I were like, well, how should we like do this, introduce the character? And I was like, I don't know, like what if I was smoking at the time. I quit smoking, not anymore.
Good for you.
But I was like, what about like if I light a cigarette? And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. And like, so like we started out like light on a cigarette, and then like a day later, it was like Apple didn't really love the fact that we like started the character with you smoking a cigarette. So we're gonna have to work around that part.
See, that's stuff that you have to understand. I played Santa Claus twice, and to find out that Netflix did, no, you can't. He smokes a pipe. The guy lives with a pipe in his mouth. What? Nope.
Yeah.
That's that. This is a different world.
But all that to say, like, just a testament to like how Matt was able to like get around that. Like I should have been smarter and been like, this is probably a stupid idea. Why don't do it? But again, a testament to like how he was able to nimbly move, and that was just a lot of fun. That bar fight was a blast.
Don't you find, guys, that you find in the editing room, it's the first time you say, God, I didn't think that was going to have that much power, that relationship. Or, God, I thought that was funny. It's not. It's not funny at all. Or, whoa, wait, roll that back. Oh, my God, wait a minute. If you flip and you start, I mean, it's the magic room. You can't believe what you can do in an editing. Well, you guys love this world, so you can imagine. But you find those things, and that's exciting. You go home at night, and what you love about being in part of the circus, right?
Yeah, it's your last chance to tell the story.
There's something that happens too when there's a scene, like maybe you love it on the day, you love it in assembly, and then at some point it goes away and you don't even notice it, and you're like, that was the part, that was the thing. Oh my God, I didn't even notice it was gone. And suddenly it's like, oh yeah, no, it doesn't need it anymore, right? It slowed it down. The call was the right calls are made, and you don't even miss what you thought you would miss.
I'm curious for myself and for the audience, what can you tease about some of the creatures this season, or the monsters?
Oh shit. There's lots of them.
I mean, there are ones like Godzilla and others that are familiar. And then there's some new ones, which are really cool, like new bugs you met tonight, new dragons you met tonight. I think that was the fun of this. For those of you who love the Monsterverse and the Toho films, you'll see creatures that you know, and then you'll also see creatures that you don't know, which is fun.
What's the name of the no spoiler, because they haven't seen it yet. What's the name of the thing that has all
on the glacier?
No.
It's like at the end, towards the end.
They're doing the work for me. It's fantastic.
The boar, the boar with all that.
What's it called?
The bramble boar.
There you go.
Yeah,
Heads up for the bramble boar.
yeah.
That's my favorite. That thing's awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously there's Godzilla. I mean, and he's a presence. He's not in every episode, but he is a presence throughout. But we had a lot of, latitude from both Toho and Legendary and Apple to say, okay, thank you. Just let your imaginations run. We want new creatures. We want the classic pantheon of monsters. We want to see those characters, and Toho does refer to them as characters, not creatures or monsters. They're like, these characters have a history, they have a legacy. We want to see them in the show, but also we want to expand that pantheon, and meet new ones and create new ones. It was a lot of fun. We had a great visual effects team headed by Sean Conrad, and amazing, and just helped design new things. It was and Matt Shakman can speak to the opening sequence in the first episode.
Oh yeah, it's fun to design creatures, and we had a whole different plan for how John Goodman was going to be attacked. And then we found this really cool rock formation in Hawaii called Lanai Lookout. And when I went down there were all these little crabs that appeared that had been blending in, and they were running from me. And I thought, oh, we should just have a giant crab. And so then we designed that big crab based on what we found, which I think is the fun of a lot of the monsters in the Monsterverse, especially in Skull Island. They mixed the flora and the fauna. They clearly went and found the creepiest critters that exist on the world, and then just made them really fucking big. And that's a lot of fun. Yeah.
One of the things I think adds so much to the series is that it's not all sound stages. You're on location a lot, and that location shooting makes it feel like it's real and you're there and it's authentic. So can you talk about that being on location filming and how much that added to the show?
Yeah, for having done both, for an actor, when you're actually looking at the thing that you're supposed to be looking at, it makes quite a big difference. And now what they can do is you don't have to be acting to a tennis ball all the time. What was so fun about doing some of the stuff that we did with the we were in Hawaii doing when the Lawton Dragon we were driving into holes and stuff, but what was so fun is we're talking with Matt and going okay, now where is it coming from? And I'm not on a soundstage. We're actually diving into a real hole, and you're going away from it, and you can imagine a real dragon behind you, and it's not in a soundstage where you're just running on a treadmill, and that's not fun and exciting to do. So it makes a huge difference to me.
You guys went to a glacier. Is it the same exact glacier?
No, from the thing you mean?
Yeah.
No, no. We were in different. We were in Hyder, Alaska / something, British Columbia, Stewart, British Columbia. But this was an interesting location. We were all up there. It was very warm, and
the snowpack had come down from the
yeah,
Scouts.
it was
like there was a
different.
foot less everything.
And I one day, the first day we were there, we were taking helicopters up there, and we get off, and everybody's getting their bearings and stuff. And about 2 hours later, I looked over quite a ways away, maybe 400 or 500 yards away from where we were shooting, and I see this guy with a group of other guys, and he's got a long 20-foot pole, and he's doing this. But he's not moving fast. They put a pylon there. Okay, so you had to be very careful where you were going, and when we saw that, we said, when they roped some areas off, I said, look at the guys, I said, they aren't kidding, man. Do not go past that rope. It was pretty weird, that location. I mean, it was a fantastic. You were out in the middle of nowhere, but you were really in the middle of nowhere, and that was weird.
The show was for Apple TV's global division. We wanted a show that looked like the world, and that meant getting out into it as much as we could. And Hawaii, and we were in Tokyo for 2 weeks. We lost half a day to a typhoon. That was exciting. We're we lost half a day to a typhoon. It's a good reason to lose half a day. But we wanted it to look everywhere. We just found amazing locations all throughout British Columbia. It was hugely important for the kind of scope and scale of the show to not be on a volume on chasing that stuff. We did use a drone once for Eyeline. I remember that out at Cache Creek. There was a drone used so everyone could could track it in because there was a motion. That was fun. When we were like,
you
how are
couldn't-
we going to make everyone do this? Like, wait, we've got a drone.
You couldn't hold a tennis ball high enough for Godzilla.
Yeah.
That's actually genius when it comes to filming with a monster. Having the drone right there, everyone sees it. Everyone's looking at the right eye line. That's actually great.
It's kind of hard to imagine some of that stuff when you're out there because some of those takes where Godzilla's tail is sweeping over you. And you're saying, now exactly how big is the tail? and they're saying it's really big. I mean, from here to way over there, and you go, okay, he's getting bigger and bigger here. And then you got the wind machines going and stuff. It's fun making movies, and that's what you feel like.
I'm curious when it comes to the thing about Godzilla and the monsters is that they all cost a lot of money to put on screen. So I'm curious in the writing process of the 10 episodes, how much were you like, okay, it costs X number of dollars to do this, so we need to pick and choose where we're going to deploy these kinds of big resources in what episode and when. Can you sort of take us through or talk about how you decided where and when to deploy the big VFX?
Well, it's always a balancing act. I mean, we knew felt a little bit serving two masters with this show. We knew it was the Godzilla show, and there's an expectation, particularly working with Legendary in the big movies, that the fans of this universe expect to see their big monsters. But we also didn't feel like that we could sustain a television series both on a production level, because as you point out, they're very expensive, but also from a storytelling level. I mean, from the very beginning, we didn't want to make a show that was a show about monsters. We had to make a show about people who inhabit a world with monsters. And so where the monsters appeared was largely driven by story, that we had a group of characters on a quest pursuing something, looking for their father, trying to solve a mystery, and the monsters kept getting in the way. And they would appear, as Matt Fraction points out, at the most inconvenient moment for our characters.
Right, when they're about to get the thing, that's a perfect time to have a giant set piece happen, right? But we were very conscious of not letting production concerns guide the writer's room in that process. There's a crazy location and set piece in episode 3, and then in episode 4 we're on a glacier, and we were like, we're gonna build the story, we're gonna build the place, and then we're gonna figure it out. And our tremendous production team made it happen. And marched us around the world and across many trucks, vans, a few helicopters, airplanes, but it was all this. It had to be like planning a military invasion, like just the logistics of how can we get. We were trying to figure out how to get a Jeep to Hawaii.
Oh my God!
There was a whole thing about how much money it was. Like it was a whole thing. But there are people who live for the challenge of like, what's that? You need a Jeep in Hawaii on Tuesday? And they make it happen, right?
How much money do you have?
Yeah. CarMax, no. But it was we had a tremendous production staff that aided and abetted us in making this giant show.
Yeah, as Matt says, when we're working in the writer's room, I always tell the writers, when you're first thinking about telling the story, just don't write to the budget. It's like write to the story and we'll figure it out. And sometimes stuff is just way too big, and then you have to come back and you have to pull it back in and find out, okay, what is a producible version that tells the same thing that you want. But I don't want the team to be thinking about dollars and cents. It's like you have to think about, okay, what's the best story that's serving these characters? And like Matt says,
I am proud though that I wrote a pre-outline for an episode and was told this would be more expensive than the entire season start over.
Yeah.
So I took the unlimited budget of imagination and I topped it.
Yeah, I think it was episode 109, and they said this is episode 109, 110, and 201.
It was fair. There's tough but fair.
Speaking of 201, I am curious, when you are pitching Apple on a series like this, they obviously are not thinking one and done. How much are you guys in the Bible, if you will, of the show, like coming up, they wanted to hear you have a 3-season plan or a 2-season plan, or where you ultimately like this to go. Like, you know what I mean? So you're not, I'm just curious if that came up at all.
I never like, it's such
I don't know, Oliver, are you out
such
there?
a kind of definitive way, but like we love these characters and we love their stories, and it was clear that there's more to tell. You know, we take this spectacular journey this season, and I think it resolves really wonderfully and emotionally resonantly, and then there are about 10 million other questions about what's next. And I think it was always understood that we weren't crafting a limited series, but like, hey, in success and with good luck, we could keep doing this a long, long time, because we've really come to love who these people are and love throwing giant monsters in their way right when they're about to get that thing that makes them happy. So hopefully, if that makes you guys happy, and watch early and watch often.
Well, as Kurt pointed out, that when you're in the thick of it trying to figure out what season 1 is, you're not always thinking about what season 2 is going to be.
Yeah. All I know is it was our job to try to get him to season 2.
So
You guys don't want to let Kurt down, do you? It's right answer.
Absolutely. For all of you guys, when you looked at the shooting schedule for what you were involved in, what was the day you had circled in terms of, I cannot wait to film this scene, or, oh my God, I am dreading filming this scene?
Those days are gone. I don't feel that anymore. I don't get that one.
You don't get.
No. That's all. No. If you do that, then you're asking for trouble, because I have said this to actors. At a certain point in your life, you have to say, yeah, you know what, I've done 1,000 of these, and actually, I can be helpful here. I always say that, like, the last 3 days, you feel that it's like the end of a season in baseball. If you got a chance of making the playoffs, yeah, nobody has to say anything to anybody. Everybody's going for it. But when we're doing this, you don't know what's going to be there and what's not going to be there. You're only putting stuff in the can for them to work with. I always say this, though, the last 3 days, I promise you this, everything we shoot now will be in the movie. Otherwise, they wouldn't be shooting it. They need this, so do not let down. But you can't. You got to do that the first day. You got to go in there. You got to make that team every single day.
I have an answer. When we went into the submarine on the first day, I think that was one of the first days of shooting. And in the submarine, it was like they put on this gimbal, and it was like cool. It was like exciting, you're like, oh, first day shooting, like this is gonna be awesome. And the submarine was on a gimbal that shook like if San Andreas fault happened right now.
That wasn't Star Trek, man. It was
shaking like fucking crazy. And it looked great and it was awesome, but we were on there all day. So it was like, holy shit, that was like, you want to go home and I'm in my bed and I'm like doing that. And then I say, when I got the call sheet and the next day it was like, interior, Lawton, submarine. I was like, fuck, I don't want to go to work tomorrow. I can say that was probably the only day that I was like, oh God, okay, I gotta. But no, but then we stopped. The shaking came down a little bit the next day.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, but it was great. It looked awesome.
It's like I left with the kind of, everyone was like, well, how was it? It was like, it's like fighting a bear every single day, but every day it's a different bear. I only felt that on the first day because it wasn't real until we started. Right.
Were you guys there the day we saw the bear? Were you?
Yes. Yeah. With the
Yeah, remember?
Yeah. We had to scare away
a bear.
The whole crew. We had to scare away a bear.
Yeah. That just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
This is like a separate story, but you're right. We're like shooting.
The scene with the kid and the rifle in the first episode. Yeah.
And like and there's like a starting mark, and it's kind of like down a little bit behind a trail. Like just keep going that way, and like
I was like, go back further, go back further.
and I had like a gun on him, but of course, like some false sense
gun.
of security,
The bear
and
doesn't
so someone turns around, someone says, I forgot who it was. I think it was Bex. She goes, oh my God, there's a bear. And I turn around and I'm like, holy shit, there's a bear, like right there, like fucking right there. And I know you're supposed to make yourself big, so I was like, go away, bear, like go away. And I literally reached for my gun, and I'm like,
Yeah, hey, Apple.
This is a fake gun.
Hey, Apple, bad news. Wyatt got eaten by a bear.
It was like,
How are we covered for insurance?
yeah. And then of course, like a grip, like a tough, actual tough person comes over with an air horn and like scares the bear off. But it was really fucking like, holy shit! There's a bear right there.
And then we had the rats. We had the amorous rats that blew a take in Tokyo.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's right. We interrupted some rats' honeymoon, and Anna and Kiersey were not happy. Wildlife aplenty in our show.
Yeah.
There are 8 episodes that everyone has not seen yet in this audience. Which of the 8 are you most excited for people to see? Is there like one of those 8 that you're like, oh, I can't wait?
It goes for me 9, 6, 8, and then go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. That's it.
Oh, you have it.
I'm going to say it once, so you missed it. You missed it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Stan, it's like, yeah, it's good.
9 for me.
10 is like.
We got to get you a mic.
10 is great.
I love all my children, so. But I think Kurt's right though. It builds momentum, and you only get to meet his character at the end of the second episode. Trust me, there's a lot of Kurt coming. Don't worry about it. But it does. I mean, it really, those episodes he mentioned are all great, but I think there's something special in all of them, and that it does really, it at a certain point, it's on rails to the end. And it was incredibly exciting to get to the end of that journey and see how the first season concluded. I couldn't be more proud of the work everybody did, and particularly our cast. It was incredible. It made us all look good.
Yeah, great cast.
Really good
Can't
cast.
wait
These
for you
actors
to
are
get to
good,
know
man.
these people. They're so great.
Yeah, Mari, who in my group, Mari and Anders, like, you had to create a rapport with your fellow castmates in a way. We were in these pods, it was like the young Lee pod and the older Lee pod, and not. A lot of the mistakes that happen in these type of movies, I think, are people go like, oh, the CGI will make it, and then they just like come to work and just don't like show up, or they like, you have an idea and you're like, well, I'm not gonna say it because whatever, fuck, I don't want to get into it. But we're not that way, and it was important to us that you're involved and you're always in it and you're always pulling for the right thing, because even sometimes if it's the wrong thing, at least you were pulling for something, and I think that's an important thing. And Mari and Anders, and I can speak for my crew, like, they were so right there with absolutely everything. Mari was so game, like on the ropes where she was getting beat up all the time. The ropes were like, it's hard. Like, doing action is a legitimately difficult thing that most people find out when they do action. You're like, holy shit, I got to climb up this rope 17 times. Like my hands are going to fall off. And Mari went like every take, she was like gung ho, wanted to do everything. Anders was like, so it was awesome. I mean, that was very nice to see, because it is not all the time that you get your castmates who are as into it as sometimes you are.
I had a great group with Kiersey, Anna, and Ren, and Ren's he's very authentic. He's I don't know. He's
Japanese James Dean, man.
Yeah, he's a very quiet guy, but he's really fun, and he's always thinking. And I think he's terrific. I think he's got a great future.
And this is his first real professional acting gig.
He was a chef right before.
Yeah, one of his auditions, he was like, "Yeah, I only had time to learn the one side I was working last night." We're like, "Oh, what are you shooting? What are you filming?" And he was like, "No, I'm a line cook."
The progression of his character, he took the progression of his character to some of the best stuff in this. But there's he and I both have a favorite in the show, and without it doesn't wreck anything. I don't even know the man's name. He plays Hiroshi,
older Hiroshi.
Takahiro. Yeah, he's like great actor. I mean, like really great.
Kurt, I want to ask you a question that has nothing to do with Monarch. You have done so many amazing things in your career. There's going to be people out there who have never seen anything you've done, like kids, whoever. if besides Monarch, if they have never seen anything you've done, what is the first thing you'd like them watching and why?
It would start with the Disney days.
The Kurt Russell collection, available on Blu-ray now, just in time for holiday shopping.
Somebody once said his career looks like it was handled by a drunken driver. And I think that's really well said because I was behind the wheel. I don't know. What's fun about getting older as an actor, if you've had the opportunity to work with really good directors and actors and some ideas that at least you loved, because sometimes they you have to make a decision. Is this something I'm going to do because I love doing it and I want to do it, but it's probably not really going to be loved by that many people right now. But I think in 30 years, I was always the 30-year guy. I couldn't help it. I don't really want to do that. I want to do this because I think that with that guy or that girl, we can make something that can be fun for somebody to watch at any time in the future, from now to then. And in that regard, the one thing that's fun for me now is I hear all kinds, anywhere from Tombstone to The Thing to used cars to I forget whatever. I mean, I was fortunate. I don't know how to answer any other way than that. I was just fortunate, and I continue to be fortunate. I continue to be excited about it. When you get to work with people that are willing to dig in, it's no fun when they don't want to dig in. But when they do want to dig in, it's like that's why I joined the circus, man. That's it. And I just want to keep doing it because it's fun. I remember probably stunted growth somehow in that regard, but
I think we all are. Yeah. I think all of us are to some extent.
And that's in the Canadian crews. In the States, it's base camp. Wherever the trucks are and the camera stuff is and the grips go, it's base camp. In Canada, it's the circus. Yeah. As because it really feels like you're running. And that's like, oh, it should be the circus. That's so much better, right?
Yeah. I'm curious, how much did you guys in the writing process figure out like sort of a show Bible in terms of figuring out all the major moments between like 1945 and 2014, like all the things with Monarch and trying to lay it all out so in case you do 3 years or 4 years, you have it all figured out? And how much were you sort of like, we're just going to worry about this and we'll fit it in later, or, we'll worry about other things later?
I mean, we take it seriously. I mean, it's on top of just the kind of, look, I'm a comic book guy. I know what it's like to care about this stuff. And when somebody's faking it, like, I'm not faking it. Like, I'm going to be like, wait a minute, how does that, like, I knew, right, going in, like, I had a lot of this stuff in my head.
He had a lot of it in his head.
But it's the thing we take really seriously, and we work with our partners at Legendary. Like, there's these movies, and everything's going to kind of dance and weave. But the kind of fascinating thing is there's enough big raindrops that there's big spaces between them, and it's okay to still have some question marks, because that's interesting for us, right? You're gonna see Monarch at like the pinnacle of its golden age, when Monarch was like NASA in the show, and it was like the coolest, most cutting edge science kind of place in the world, and they do this incredibly huge, massive thing. And then chronologically in the story, the next time you see Monarch is in Skull Island, when John Goodman has his hat in his hand and is begging for a ride on a helicopter. Like, that's a spectacular fall, right? So part of our thing's like, oh man, how did that happen? We'll find out, right? But it's part of the joy of this is there's a lot of questions, and it's writing is the answer.
Yeah, a lot of it was established. I mean, we had the mythology, the kind of canonical sandbox that we had was the Legendary movies, was the 4, now soon to be 5 feature films. That was the world that we had been given to work within. And so a lot of that was established. There was a history, there are characters, there's a timeline, there are titans, that there was a canon that we needed to, be faithful to. But as Matt pointed out, one of the great things about working with Legendary was they gave us a lot of latitude to sort of carve our own lane and make our own show. And there's a lot of space between those movies. I mean, between Godzilla in 2014 and King of the Monsters is 2019, I want to say. There's 5 years. There's 5 years where you don't know what's going on in that world.
It's 5 years of screen time, right? You meet Monarch in 2014, and they're the mysterious kind of X-Files monster CIA thing that nobody listens to. And then 2019, they're like civil defense. The sirens go off. Everyone knows, go to the Monarch bunkers, look for the guys in the Monarch hats.
They're
gonna take care of you.
testifying before a congressional committee.
Yeah, right. So like, oh, that's fascinating. How do they do that? How does this top secret mega covert underground thing then become the public face of safety and responsibility? That's sort of, where our show lives.
One of the things that's cool about this, that I like about science fiction and westerns, science fiction and westerns, you can ask the big questions without looking silly. You can talk about, where did we come from? Is there a God? Is there justice? You can talk about those things without, I don't know, looking like a bad TV show, which I think there's a lot of. But when you do sci-fi and you have the opportunity to explore these things, you have a great thing to take advantage of. It gives you the chance to do something other genres cannot do. Well, they just can't do it. One of the things that I find fascinating about watching the 10 shows is every once in a while you do something and the timing of it it becomes relatable to what you're living through. There are monsters in our world, and there are monster people in our world, in our show. And in both, you live it. You can relate to it. So when you do really an interesting sci-fi that happens to connect by chance to humanity and what's going on, that's relatable to you. That's what makes sci-fi so exciting, I think. I think that's what, to a sci-fi fan, they're really feeling. That's what they're seeing. That's what they're understanding. I think The Thing, for instance, is one of the greatest sci-fi ideas there could ever possibly be, because you finally have to say, I mean, they're actually beginning to say some of it now. The concept of something being able to imitate you so perfectly that you don't even know yourself if you're you. Well, they're now beginning to look, 30,000 years into the permafrost and ask some questions. So with Godzilla, Mothra, the bramble, what's it called?
The bramble.
The bramble boar. The ice aardvark or whatever. Who's to say we just haven't seen them yet? For those of us who haven't seen them. For those of us, the guy in the end, this guy here, that have seen them, well, I just think that it's unique to sci-fi.
Yeah, well, I mean, Godzilla has always stood in as for sort of our worst existential fears. It's like, what era of Godzilla? Is it the post-war 50s? Is it the 60s? Is it into the 70s? And there are certainly things that he can represent that we can be afraid of today.
Post-pandemic.
We were shooting the show in the middle of a global pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, Godzilla was born out of the atomic bomb era. That was all about us. I love that about Godzilla. I think that's really cool.